The French magazine Archéologia, a serious publication full of respect for the idea of science, recently reported on an event that happened in Russia, an event that demonstrated, if any more were needed, that our ancestors, whom we contemptuously call barbarians, were much less barbaric than we are inclined to believe today. A chance archaeological discovery led to the finding that in the area of Kazakhstan, a surgeon more than 2,300 years ago had accomplished a feat that we find difficult to imagine, amputating a woman's left leg and replacing it with a prosthesis. This is not the imagination of some publicist eager for cheap fame, but a real fact, ascertained upon the discovery of a tomb containing an admirably preserved skeleton, despite the passage of so many millennia, and these things were ascertained with their own eyes by scholars and publicists who came here from all corners of the world. The operation was undoubtedly crowned with success, because it could be established beyond doubt that the patient had lived for many years afterwards using this artificial leg, the tubular bone of which came, according to the findings of the specialist, from a ram. Naturally, once again there were rationalists who jumped up and shouted in outrage that it was nothing but a Russian fart, a hollow boast like everything that comes from Moscow. The same rationalists were equally indignant about another astonishing discovery. Open-heart surgery was performed in Turkmenistan 100,000 years ago, as established by the Marmajagan expedition and the conclusions of the Moscow Academy of Sciences, and confirmed by the findings of other scholars who were not influenced by Russian propaganda practices. The skeptic's position is shown to be pointless in the face of the clear evidence of the facts. The same conspiracy of skeptics was also forced to remain silent when it was demonstrated that, 114 years before the Montgolfier brothers' feat, the Jesuit monk Gasmau had presented the astonishing spectacle of the flight of a heavier-than-air body to the royal court in Lisbon. And it was the same conspiracy that blew up when the plans for the three-stage rocket that flew over the Romanian city of Sibiu in 1529 were published. People have incredibly short memories, so they have unfairly quickly forgotten the extraordinary inventions of the Italian architect Francesco di Giorgio, who anticipated the most modern weapons of our time in the 16th century. Giorgio had designed in particular a rocket-launching cannon, which was initially carried on wheels but which then rose into the air on its own, thanks to its own speed. Even more perfect was the two-stage rocket, the first launching the second with the help of its gunpowder charge. Since Giorgio had not thought of building a launching ramp, this double rocket was placed on a cart that probably moved on an inclined plane at a precisely calculated angle until it was able to detach itself from its own weight. A third invention foreshadowed no more nor less than our naval torpedoes, and if it was never put into practice, history nowhere mentions such a fact that would have shaken humanity, and nevertheless had absolutely everything it needed to function without fail. This hallucinatory invention consisted of a floating system equipped with 3 barrels that rotated to reduce resistance to progress. At the front, 2 tips of the hardest steel were to be stuck into the belly of the targeted ship. The torpedo, placed in the rear of the system, initially acted as a reaction propellant, and then when the fire reached the load, it exploded. The aforementioned fork had the role of fixing the load to the belly of the attacked ship. If our modern researchers had had the idea to poke their noses into the blackened filth of centuries, they would have come across a V14 centuries before von Braun. It is true that such a discovery would not have had the gift of contributing to the progress of our civilization at all.